Welcome back. And with me is Melvin Clark. Melvin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. So, Melvin, it is an honor to have you here. I should
Thanks.
say Mr. Clark,
Oh,
especially
thank you.
distinguished of a gentleman as you are. And I understand that you are a vice president of a major financial services company.
That's correct.
And we're here to talk to the students about how you got there, what your education pathway is, and maybe what you like to do for fun or what your hobbies are.
Okay.
So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about what you do today? What's your title and what do you do?
Okay. My official title is Vice President of IT for Allianz Investment Management. That is a subsidiary of Allianz Life. So basically, I'm the head of IT for a $149 billion investment firm.
That's huge.
Yes.
So for the youth out there watching and the other adults, you are the man. And it is very rare that we find an African American at such a senior level in an organization. And so that's one of our objectives here, is to show that there are many career paths that people can take, even above just being a developer or infrastructure person. So how did you get to the level? I know it's a loaded question, but what were the things that you did along your education pathway, or maybe your creative side, to get you to where you're at today?
Ironically, my education path doesn't match up with what I actually do today. When I was early on, I was planning to go to either law school or medical school. And I ended up getting a degree in business management. At that time, I was a preschool teacher and a kindergarten teacher for Seed Academy and Harvest Prep. I really, really enjoyed that process, but I've always been driven. You know, according to my mom, enough is never enough for me. I switched careers because unfortunately, I needed to do something with a new young family, and I was actually processing claims. And we were paid by how many claims we actually completed. I noticed a pattern where I was entering the same information over and over and over. And I'm trying to hustle to make money for my family. So I printed out all the screens, spent the weekend redesigning all of the screens, creating a mapping document saying, if you enter this field, this is the fields that will populate later. That Monday, I went to the IT manager and said, if you did this, you'll increase throughput by 40%, and I can make more money, right? He looked at it, asked, what was my training, what was my background, had no formal IT training. Later that week, he'd offered me a job in IT, and that's what started my career.
Because there's whole disciplines, whole departments of education and areas that focus in on user interface and process flow and efficiencies, staffs of people. And here you put in a weekend's worth of work, but the difference is you actually did the work, right? And in many cases, we learn things, but we don't actually bring our personal experiences into it. And it makes it very amazing that you are doing what you're doing today. So you also have this creative side, right? So what other types of things inspire you? I mean, like outside of work or outside of life, when you're in your casual or personal time, what do you like to do? What are the important things that occur in your life that you love to do, or your passion?
Yeah, I love art, I love photography, and I love travel. And I've been very fortunate that my career has supported travel, or you could say either or. Because of my creative side, I believe there's 14 or 15 patent applications. Some have already been granted. My first one is the one I'm the most proud about. But because of the appetite of solving and creativity, it's led me into different positions all around the world. So I've traveled to 6 of the 7 continents. I haven't been to Antarctica yet.
Do you really want to go? It's pretty cold down there.
I'm going to do it. It's on my bucket list, right? I've been very fortunate where I've been emboldened of not exactly know how I'm going to do something, but I've had the confidence to know that I can figure it out.
Sure.
And I'm atypical to a lot of executives where I've learned how to code in just about every major language, and I drive a vision of what I want invented. So that's where it's a little different. That's part of my job today is I sell a vision to my business colleagues. Then I actually understand how to actually make that vision happen. And I can go toe-to-toe with my architects and my developers and really drive what I want to do. And so that's what landed me into this position that I'm currently in.
So as it relates to the youth, that is obviously a characteristic they must have, is pursue their passion.
Yes.
Right? Do you have any advice for young folks that are maybe in high school or maybe early career, thinking about what type of profession to go into, computer science majors, engineering?
Yeah. I would say definitely anything when it comes to computer sciences, because that's where the future is already at, and we're going to shift more. When it comes to personal advice, I typically mentor younger students and say, you only fail when you stop trying, right? Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to try different things and own mistakes. I give them lessons of how I actually manage my personal life. I do a yearly self-review on my birthday every year. What I did, what I accomplished this year, what I did, what I could have improved on, what did work well, so I can actually keep doing those things, and what do I want to do next year, right? So driving yourself is probably the most important thing.
Let me ask you a question. I know we didn't prep for this, but what about life plan? Do you just look at, you do a self-review every year. How far out on the horizon do you actually plan?
I actually plan 20 years out all the time. So I have a 1 year, 5 year, and a 20-year plan. And I make adjustments on a yearly basis. And so, exactly, on my birthday. So it's infamous at work that I always take my birthday off, and they want to know what my plans are for the next year. And I like money, I like success, and I would do, before they called it vision boards, I came up with my own vision board saying, by the time I'm 30, I want to be making this much, I want this role. By the time I'm 40 and 50 and so forth, right? I want to be able to retire by the time I'm 55. I've already retired once, and I came out of retirement. So it's nice to be in a position to follow your passions and work because of your passions, not because you work to work, right?
Fantastic.
Yep.
Do you, in terms of the career titles in STEM-related fields, right? Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, any of the big name, data science, I've always been curious from your vantage point, being a senior executive at a major financial services company, what type of degrees or what type of jobs and careers, right? We don't want them to just have jobs, we want them to have rich and fruitful careers. Where do you think a student could invest their time in education at a younger age? So for example, there's a common trend out there to do certifications, then you have the 2-year degrees, and you have like the 4-year degrees. And so in the high schools, we actually talk about all 3 of them because that's kind of non-trad. But for who you're trying to hire, the future workforce, if you will, do you have any advice on what students might want to?
Yeah, it would really vary about where they want to go. So if they want to go into a more technical discipline, like cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, yes, computer science degrees, coupled with a liberal arts degree is really, really important. And I always stress communication classes, because if you can articulate what you're trying to sell, and if you don't believe that you're selling, you're constantly selling all the time. You're selling yourself, you're selling your ideas, you're selling your work, right? So if you're unable to do those things, it doesn't matter how gifted you are technically, right? So I typically try to find really great communicators, people who are not afraid to make mistakes, right? And a passion to learn, right? And oftentimes I will pass on someone who's maybe more technically certified than someone who actually has a passion about growing. Okay?
Well, Mr. Clark, I thank you for your time. Any final words, anything you'd like to share with our audience?
The only thing I would like to say to the audience is don't give up on yourself, right? So if you fall and it doesn't work out, pick yourself up and change your situation, change yourself.
Well, thank you for your time
thank
today.
you.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.